Hi students, welcome to the class of vitamins. This series of videos will be covering the fat soluble vitamins. The vitamins are included in competency number 6.15. Okay, in competency 6.15 all the water soluble and fat soluble vitamins are included. So it says describe the biochemical role of vitamins in the body and explain the manifestation of their deficiency. Okay, so technically speaking, you only need to know the biochemical role. I mean, what is the active principle and what is the mechanism of action, or how they play their part in the body, and the deficiency symptom, nothing else. But believe me, since the curriculum is in transition phase, it means the examiners who are examiners of yesterday are also examiners of today. They might not be sticking to exact this thing. Okay, so they will be asking you what are the dietary sources, what are the absorption, how it is absorbed, and all the other things that comes along with vitamins that have come along the ages. You know that I always tell you when to read smart. So vitamin is one area in which you need to stick to the basics and you need to read from all the angles. Okay, you need to learn much more than what is told in the competency. So I'll be covering in detail exactly what you need to know. Okay, so let us first talk about vitamins in general. So what are vitamins? You already know vitamins are nutrients, essential nutrients that our body cannot make on our own. Alright, we use these as food supplements, and for proper health it's needed. Okay, no one will be asking you the definition of vitamin in this stage, but it's good for you to know. You should know that it's important for normal growth along with other nutrients. So, if we loosely classify vitamins, how do they look like? You already know from your plus 2, not only plus 2, from your nutrition days, I think from class 6 or 7, right? That vitamins are fat soluble and water soluble. Fat soluble are A, D, E, K, and water soluble are vitamin B and C. B is actually a lot of vitamin taken together. So, vitamin B complex and vitamin C, non-vitamin B complex water soluble means vitamin C. B complex can be, now that you are MBBS, you need to put some extra flavor into it. So B complex can be classified into energy releasing vitamin or hematopoietic vitamin. Hematopoietic vitamin, as you all know, are B12 and folate. And all the other vitamins somehow release energy by acting as coenzyme in various metabolic pathways of carbohydrate, protein or lipid metabolism. So they are related to release of energy. Okay, please take into consideration they act as coenzyme only. We don't consume vitamins to give our body calories. Okay, they don't act in that way. So if you are asked few differences in water soluble and fat soluble vitamins, you should be able to tell many of these what's written. Okay, so let's look into it one by one. So fat soluble vitamins are soluble in fat and absorbed along with other lipids, and they require carrier protein. Whereas water soluble vitamins are soluble in water. Their absorption is very simple. Since it's water soluble, they don't require any carrier protein. They are simply absorbed with water. Okay. Fat soluble vitamins are stored in liver because our body has got adipose tissue. They can store the vitamins. But water soluble vitamins will not be stored and they are easily excreted in urine. Therefore, remember the deficiency disorders of water soluble vitamins are more common because they cannot be stored. And since fat soluble vitamins can be stored, the toxicity, the overdose of fat soluble vitamins are more common. So here comes an explain why type of question. Deficiency disorders are more common in case of fat soluble, deficiency disorders are more common in case of water soluble vitamins, whereas hypervitaminosis or toxicity are more common in case of fat soluble vitamin. The logic is very simple. One is stored and one is excreted. So deficiency will only manifest in case of fat soluble vitamin when the stores are depleted. And in this case, since there is no storage, so if you stop eating water soluble vitamin B complex, immediately you will be having deficiency symptoms. It said one of the deficiency symptoms of B complex is aphthous ulcer. Okay, those small white ulcers that happen in the inside of your mouth, those are very painful. Vitamin B1 and many other B complex vitamins have got roles. So if you stop taking good food, those aphthous ulcers may happen. And if you start taking B complex capsules, those will definitely vanish. So in case of toxicity, hypervitaminosis can happen, and it's unlikely since it's excreted. The excess amount is not absorbed and it's excreted. Single large dose may prevent deficiency. Why? Because a depot preparation means a huge dose of vitamin, fat soluble vitamins, will be stored in liver and they'll be slowly released into the circulation. That's why vitamin A oil, vitamin E oil, those are given in huge doses, because vitamin D excess doses are given so that they can be stored in liver and they will be slowly released into the circulation and exert their action. But in case of fats, water soluble vitamin, regular supplementation is needed. Mind it, you need B and C in your diet regularly, daily. If you stop taking them for 1 week, you may land in deficiency symptom. An example is A, D, E and K, and over here example is B and C. So see, excuse me, this simple vitamin difference has so many hidden questions. That's why I thought to cover this for you. Now, regarding lipid soluble vitamin, these are again some core feature that I have highlighted. It's the same thing, so they are hydrophobic in nature and most of them are isoprene derivatives. So this is an MCQ question. Isoprene, wherever you are seeing, you need to tick the fat soluble vitamin, that is A, D, E and K, even if you do not know the structure. Okay, and the rest is all common. They cannot be synthesized, supplied in diet, absorbed along with fat, transport by specific carriers and binding proteins, surplus amount stored, and excess consumption lead to toxic effect, and their deficiency disorder is not likely and can be treated with depot preparation. So this covers the prelude of the vitamin, and now we will go into vitamin A. I intend to take this class in 2 halves because there are so many things. If I tell you this in one go, it might be too much for you. So let's see if you can take it, and I will stop where I need to. So as you can see in the background, these are the foods that are rich in vitamin A. The one thing that comes in mind is carrot. Okay, but just know this, other than carrot, meat and egg especially, and the fruits like papaya, avocado, melon, peaches, squash, broccoli or sweet potato, all of these are rich sources of vitamin A. So it's an essential nutrient that's needed in small amount for growth, immunity, reproduction, epithelial integrity and our visual system. That should be the first important function of vitamin A. Okay, and vitamin A deficiency will lead to malfunction of all of these organs. So there will be problem in eye, there will be problem in skin, there will be problem in immunity. So we will see. Okay, and you should know that in lower socioeconomic class, especially in slums of African countries as well as in India, vitamin A deficiency is a major concern. So it's a public health issue. So these are the sources of vitamin A. I will not waste so much time. By now you should be able to mention at least 5 or 6 food that are rich sources of vitamin A. You should remember at least 2 sources of animal and 2 plant sources for all the vitamins. Remember, fish liver oil or cod liver oil are very rich sources of vitamin A. Okay, sea fish especially. Now we get to the important part. So what are the biologically active forms of vitamin and what is provitamin? Okay, provitamin A means the form that is yet to be converted. Okay, so pro beta carotene, the name is familiar to you. It's a form that is found in carrot. Okay, those are actually known as retinoid. So there are various natural and synthetic forms of vitamin A. Okay, now we come to the preformed forms of vitamin A, that is all ready made. Preformed means ready made, and body can easily assimilate those, and they are metabolically active. So mind it, provitamin A generally occurs in plants, so those vitamins need to be converted into active vitamins in our body. However, animal source vitamin A are more easily available metabolically, of course, because we are animals. Okay, animal to animal compatibility, so the form that exists in animals are utilized easily in our biological system. So retinol is the alcohol form, retinal is the aldehyde form, and retinoic acid is the acid form. You know, these are hierarchies of organic chemistry. As we oxidize, it gets converted from alcohol to aldehyde to retinoic acid. At your level, you just need to know these three names, that is enough. I will tell you where they are used and where they play their roles. Okay, just you need to know the three active form: alcohol form, aldehyde form, and the acid form. And in most cases, the alcohol form and the aldehyde form are interconvertible. So this is important. Retinal and retinol forms are interconvertible. So as I told you, provitamin beta carotene can yield retinal when metabolized in the body. Okay, so beta carotene is found in plants. You do not need to know this ion ring. Okay, the structure of beta carotene, if it's given in the book, are not important for you to remember. Not important for you to remember for those who want to pass. Of course, if you are interested, you can remember anything and everything, but then you are jeopardizing your limited memory cell, because you need to incorporate so much of anatomy and physiology as well. Okay, so you should read smart. So see, these are all structures of vitamin A, which are of course not important for you to remember. You should know two or three important products. Number one is beta carotene, this is provitamin, retinol, that is the alcohol form, and retinal, this is the aldehyde form, and retinoic acid. Now, the retinal form is the most important form. Why? Because you need to remember two forms of the aldehyde form. Those two forms are 11 cis retinal and all trans retinal. These two are very important. We will later discuss in the visual cycle. These two are very important. Okay, so 11 cis retinal and all trans retinal, these two are most important. And if you need to remember one most important, which one will be? That will be all trans retinal, because this is the most active form. 11 cis is converted to all trans, and that triggers the visual cycle. Okay, so remember, all trans retinal is the most important. Everything is important, but this is the final active form that acts in eye. Moving on, see, these are interconvertible as I told you, but all trans retinal is most important. Okay, it is formed from 11 cis retinal and it is again converted back to 11 cis retinal, because this is a cycle and it continues in the eye. So let us, since it's a 2-class series, I'll be breaking down things slowly. So these retinoids are broken down to free retinol and fatty acid in small intestine that requires bile. Okay, this is the mechanism of absorption of plant sources of vitamin A. Those are retinoids and carotenes. Okay, so once absorbed, so first these esters are broken down into retinol and fatty acid, and then they are absorbed. So 99% of retinoids can be absorbed. I'm saying 90%. Okay, so carotenoids, these are absorbed intact. Absorption rate is much slower, and intestinal can convert carotenoids to retinoids. So this is a modified form of retinoid that is carotenoid. Okay, so carotenoid is converted to retinoid. So remember, these are easily absorbed than this. Okay, this is absorbed available from carrot. So one thing that you need to know is all the fat soluble vitamins are absorbed through the lymphatic system. Okay, you already know what is lymphatic system from your anatomy knowledge. So via the lymphatic system they are drained into the bloodstream. Now if there is a problem in abdomen, for example in case of diarrhea or jaundice, since all of them are fat soluble vitamins, they are absorbed with bile acids. Okay, so those problems will lead to poor absorption, right? And absorption increases if taken with fat. Why? Because fat is the carrier medium and it's the actually solvent for these vitamins, because these are all fat soluble vitamins. Vitamin A, which is not absorbed, is excreted within 1 to 2 days in the feces. This is important. Okay, excess vitamin A may not be absorbed if it is too much, and they will be excreted in feces in couple of days. Now after they are absorbed, what happens? They, all the fat soluble vitamins form micelle and ultimately lead to chylomicrons. So these are all collected as chylomicrons, and these chylomicrons will ultimately go into the lymphatic system. Okay, so they are transported from liver to the target tissue via the RBP, that is retinol binding protein. So this is the carrier protein that binds with retinol, and they are converted to a soluble product, that is the protein and the binding, the vitamin and the binding protein, and they travel from the liver to the tissue via this system. Okay, via these chylomicrons. So you see one single line that is important from here, that is plasma retinol binding protein. It combines with the retinol first, then it crosses the cell membrane, because this, all the fat soluble vitamins, especially vitamin A, they actually act by the mechanism of inducing gene expression. Okay, you will be reading in molecular biology what are genes, but you need to know that they go into the nucleus and they trigger gene expression, right? So they need to cross the cell. So retinol binding protein binds and helps the vitamin A to cross the cell membrane. Over there, on the station of the cell membrane, when it reaches the cell membrane, it binds with cellular retinoic acid binding protein, CRBP. Alright, so retinol binding protein, that is the tissue retinol binding protein, will carry vitamin A towards the cell surface. Upon reaching the cell surface, it is greeted or it is welcomed by cellular retinoic acid binding protein. They carry the vitamin A into the cytoplasm. Alright, and there they have got the special receptors, those are known as hormone responsive elements or HREs. Those HREs ultimately are influenced by vitamin A and they trigger the gene expression, leading to various important function. Okay, so if you again you need to recall, from intestine they are absorbed via chylomicrons and they transport from intestine, they go to the liver, and from liver lipoprotein metabolism ultimately leads to formation of chylomicron. From chylomicron via the lymphatic system they go into the blood. From blood they'll end up in tissue, and plasma retinol binding protein takes them to the cell membrane. In the cell membrane, cellular retinoic acid binding protein, and retinoic, it's also known as cellular retinol binding protein. Okay, CRBP, not only retinoic acid. So that retinol finally enters the cytoplasm, triggers the hormone responsive element, and then triggers the gene expression, and then this is how the function happens. This is how vitamin A travels from the source to exert their function. So this is how you can see. So from intestinal rumen, retinoic esters, they are converted to retinol. They travel via the intestine to form chylomicrons. Chylomicrons, micelles, okay. in liver they continue and chylomicron metabolism happens. They ultimately land up into the tissues where they bind with retinol binding protein. Over here that there is cellular retinol binding protein, CRBP. CRBP carries them inside the cell and then they interact with the hormone responsive element HRE and they interact with the DNA and nucleus to trigger gene expression and ultimately leads to the active function. So either depending on what textbook you are reading, the diagram may be either this or this. I have included the diagram from both of the textbook, but please go through the diagram that is easier for you. Okay, this specific diagram elaborates in a more detailed steps. The diet, it can either be converted to beta carotene or retinyl ester depending on plant or animal sources. Now these retinyl esters are converted to retinol, but the plant sources needs to be converted via retinal to retinol. Okay, so once they are converted to retinol, these free fatty acid react with them to form retinyl esters. Retinyl esters are absorbed by chylomicron, they go to the liver, and finally from liver they can go into the retina. This part I will be discussing. Okay, and then from the retinol they bind with retinol binding protein, they go into the cell, and over here CREBP and HRE leads to formation of retinoic acid and ultimately they react with nucleus to form specific gene expression. So I am telling you, just remember what I told you in this diagram, that is enough. Okay, now beta carotene acts as an antioxidant. This is important. Provitamin A is actually the antioxidant. The retinol or the retinoic acid is not the antioxidant. Okay, you already have been taught free radicals chapter, I believe. If not, I'll again be taking free radicals in a separate video, so you can refer, I will refer it in detail then. But remember, these beta carotene can absorb the free radicals and redeem them less harmful. So beta carotene or provitamin A is acting as an antioxidant. So beta carotene is first converted to retinol, that is a steroid hormone, and ultimately this retinol is converted to retinal. This retinal is actually performing all the roles in visual cycle, and then again it is converted back to retinoic acid. So both of retinol and retinoic acid are having features like steroid hormones, right? What are steroid hormones? Steroid hormones are hormones that, you know, hormones are something that act in endocrine system that exert action away from their source of production. So these are hormonal properties, and steroid hormone means they have got a steroid nucleus. The structure of steroid nucleus, I think you must have been taught in lipid chemistry, that is cyclopentanoparhydrophenanthrene ring. Okay, a big name, CPP, C triple P. You must know the name and structure of steroid. So all of them has got that structure, steroid hormone, and they act on nucleus. They act on hormone responsive elements. So though that's why retinol and retinoic acid both acts as steroid hormone. So this is how the function of various vitamin A components can be summarized. Next, we come to the storage of vitamin A. Needless to say that retinol converts with fatty acid to get stored as retinol palmitate. Okay, so this is the storage form of vitamin A. Remember, this is also an MCQ. So you will be getting retinol palmitate, stearate, oleate. Always remember to click retinol palmitate as the final answer. So under normal condition, a well-fed person has sufficient vitamin A to meet his need for 6 to 9 months or more. Very, very, very important. So you don't need to worry if you are get isolated and if you cannot eat meat, fish and egg or even any source of vitamin A for the next 6 to 9 months. Okay, provided you are already taking adequate amount of vitamin A in diet. It is only after this that symptom of vitamin A deficiency will happen. So just remember, just imagine, all the lower socioeconomic classes are already having symptoms of vitamin deficiency. it means they are severely deprived in diet. Okay, so how they are excreted? They are not, I mean, they are not easily excreted, they are not readily excreted. They have got excess affinity for being stored as fat. Since they are not readily excreted, their excretion, the only method by which they can be excreted is kidney, that too in small amounts. So if kidney is at a problem, it will lead to toxicity. So it is not readily excreted. Even if a small amount excreted, it is via the kidney. So kidney problem means vitamin A toxicity or hypervitaminosis A. So now we slowly look into the function of vitamin A. So I think for today's class, I will stop after only discussing the vision, and in the next class we will be taking on the growth, reproduction and maintenance of epithelial cells along with the deficiency disorders. Okay, remember, in vitamin A, the only thing if you must revise before the day of exam, that is vision, the function of vision and Wald's visual cycle. Okay, that is the most important and must know area from vitamin A. So it acts as a component of visual system via the pigment rhodopsin, and retinal is bound to the protein opsin. Okay, vitamin A deficiency will lead to slow growth or problematic bone growth, and it will also affect the central nervous system. Both of the alcohol and aldehyde form are essential for reproductive functions, and ultimately they are also needed for skin integrity and mucus secretion. Not only skin, all the epithelial cells. Okay, so coming to the most important area of the lecture, that is role of vitamin A in vision. So it was discovered by Dr. Wald. Okay, so it is named after him, Wald's visual cycle. So it's a process by which light impacts retina of the eye, only organ where light energy is converted to an electrical impulse. You know, all that we are doing right now, I'm talking right now, you might be writing or you are seeing or you are understanding, everything is nothing but current. Neurons are transmitting electrical impulses. That's how our body works. This is the only thing that machines are not capable of doing yet, that is the neural engine. They are developing, but the self-sustaining passage of current is yet to be developed. Okay, like it happened in the matrix. So the process, eye is the only organ right now where solar energy in our body, photocells simply mimic this thing. So light is converted to electricity. So a natural photocell, light is converted to electrical energy in the retina of the eye. So optic nerve carries this signal to the brain, that is nerve impulse, and brain converts this impulse into an image. So what is the light sensitive layer? Definitely it's the retina. Okay, and retina is not located at the front. Okay, it's located at the back of the eye where a reverse image is formed. Okay, you know, a reverse image is formed and our brain actually reorients this image to make it straight, right? A mirror image is actually formed, mirror and reverse. The brain reorients it. So retina consists of both rod and cone cells. Cone cells are responsible for color vision and rod cells are responsible for black and white image. And also rod cells are responsible for low light vision and cone cells for bright light vision. So this is the schematic diagram of eye. Okay, you must be knowing this from anatomy. We will be studying eye in detail. It's a whole new stream in third year. Okay, in third professional MBBS part 1. So let's skip it. Now these are electron microscopic view of the rod and cone cells, just for your understanding. Okay, you don't need to know or remember all this, just for your interest. Light falls from the lens. Okay, light strikes the outer surface cornea, it is condensed by the lens, it is focused into the falls into the retina, and then from there all the amacrine cells and horizontal cells, those are the actually interconnecting neurons that converts the electrical signal, and ultimately they are converted connected to the optic nerve and rod cells, and thus the signal transduction happens. Okay, forget it. Okay, for us, important thing to know is normal vision on the retina depends on adequate vitamin A, right? And in the retina, vitamin A acts in the form of aldehyde. As I told you, retinal form binds to a protein opsin to make it rhodopsin. Okay, more commonly or more specifically, it is 11 sins retinal opsin. 11 sins retinal binds to the opsin to make it rhodopsin. It is now light sensitive. So this form is ready to receive light. Light can trigger this form. Okay, so rhodopsin is actually light sensitive. So see, now we come to the exact visual cycle. So this is how it looks like in your textbook. Exact this figure will be found. As I am telling you, this is a must know area. Give it triple star or 5 star as you want. Pause this video or grab a page from your textbook or take a screenshot, whatever you do. You must be able to draw this diagram in exam. One question from vitamin A that you should revise, that you should know, is this visual cycle. Of course, you don't need to draw the diagram of this scientist, okay? Don't stress on that, but just see what is happening in the visual cycle, okay? As I told you, 11 cis retinal, that is the rhodopsin, is ready to receive the photo signal, that is light signal. So what happens? 11 cis retinal in rhodopsin is acted upon by light. This is where the whole thing starts. So this is the prerequisite. We need 11 cis retinal to see. How we can see? 11 cis retinal is acted upon by light. It undergoes photoisomerization, and this leads to the phenomenon of visual excitation, that is vision, and it is converted to all trans-retinal. So unless it is converted to all trans-retinal, we won't be able to see. So remember, 11 cis retinal to all trans-retinal, this one, this is the active mechanism of vitamin D. This is the mechanism of action. 11 cis to all trans. This is a very common MCQ. They will be giving all types of option, but you need to click 11 cis to all trans-retinal, right? After this, all that we need to do now is convert back the all trans-retinal to 11 cis-retinal. Now it can happen in many ways, okay? All trans-retinal is converted to trans-retinal, and it is converted to cis-retinal, and cis-retinal is converted to 11 cis-retinal, okay? This can happen in retinal epithelium, that is the internal conversion. In eye itself, the cycle is happening, but not all of the all trans-retinal is converted to 11 cis-retinal in the eye itself. So what happens? Some go to the blood. So this trans-retinal goes to blood, where it is converted to trans-retinol. Okay, you see what is happening over here? Reduction. So aldehyde to alcohol is reduction with the help of aldehyde dehydrogenase in liver. Okay, this trans-retinol is converted to cis-retinol in the liver. You know, cis and trans is nothing but isomerization. Over here also isomerization is taking place. Over 11 cis-retinal to all trans-retinal is nothing but isomerization, but this is special type of isomerization, that is photoisomerization. Okay, so this is nothing but a gameplay of isomerase enzymes. So in liver, retinol isomerase will convert trans-retinol to cis-retinol. Now it is acted upon by again the same alcohol dehydrogenase or aldehyde dehydrogenase. The enzyme is same, and now it is using NAD plus and it is donating So it is getting oxidized by losing one hydrogen to become cis-retinal. It travels by the blood and it is converted to 11 cis-retinal once it reaches the eye. This is the Wald's visual cycle, and this you need to remember. 11 cis to all trans in the eye, and then from all trans either via the retinal isomerase it is converted back to 11 cis, or via the retinol isomerase in liver. In liver we are talking about alcohol isomerization, and in eye we are talking about aldehyde isomerization. Clear? So if it is too much for you, just draw this cycle twice and it will be very clear. It is actually very easy. So please focus on this topic only, and then after you are done you can focus on other topics. So this is the biochemistry. Now let us see the physiology, how it is happening and what are the actual nerve impulse, how the neuro thing is happening, neuromuscular conduction. So what happens in the first step? Light. So rhodopsin absorbs the photon of the light, right? This is the exact thing but in a different illustration to make you understand better. So 11 cis retinal isomerizes to all trans retinal in rhodopsin. Clear? No doubt about it. Next what happened? All trans retinal separates from opsin. Okay. In your textbooks you will find that 11 cis is actually a bent retinal and all trans retinal is an L form. Okay. So suppose this is opsin, 11 cis is attached like this and all trans is attached like this. Okay. This is for that student who wants to know something extra. 11 cis is a bent and all trans is like this. So after it is converted, all trans separates from opsins, and what happened? Opsin triggers reaction cascade that ultimately leads to the vision sensation. Okay. So this current, you know, this happens when we are in the dark and when light falls. So this is actually known as the dark current. Okay. So this reaction starts in the light, and when we are, and you know, too much exposure to light will destroy the night vision. So this is actually, we are talking about night vision. Okay. How we can see in small light. You get my point? I will discuss it again. Opsin triggers a reaction cascade that is sent to the brain. Then what happens? 11 cis retinal enzymatically is converted back. All trans is again converted back to 11 cis, and opsin and 11 cis are combined to generate rhodopsin. Same thing. All trans is converted to 11 cis, as now they are ready to again undergo the cycle. Right? Now, as I was telling, what happens? We are ready to see in light once we are exposed in the dark, but not the reverse. Okay. Suddenly, if light is switched off, you won't be able to see anything. Why? Because when there is excess light, it does not allow the rhodopsin to be formed. Okay. As soon as the light ceases, as soon as the light impulse stops, this reaction, the dark current ceases, and then the rhodopsin can combine with 11 cis retinal and it's ready for another cycle of light vision. You understand my point? So if you are exposed to light continuously, suddenly if light is switched off, everything is in all transform. And even if some light falls, it is not able to trigger the reaction. Why? Because we need 11 cis in order to trigger the reaction. We need 11 cis to receive the light. So if it is already in all transform, next cycle of light vision will not happen because those rhodopsins are already used. The rhodopsins need to get free and combine with 11 cis in order to get ready for another cycle of light vision. Okay, so just remember, in the dark we have 11 cis and in the light we have all trans. We need 11 cis in order to see. When light falls, right? And when light falls, it is converted to all trans and then the cycle happens. So role of vitamin A in vision. if you understand this cycle, and if you don't have much time to answer in the exam, if you just write this cycle and just elaborate it, you will get pass mark. Okay, but just don't write words and paragraphs, then examiner will not be happy. You must write the diagram in cycle form. So when stimulated by light, vitamin A isomerizes from its bent form to straight transform. See, bent cis form. So it is bent cis form to straighter transform and detaches from opsin. Okay. The opsin molecule changes shape, which sends a signal to the brain via optic nerve, and image is formed. This is the actual neurovisual mechanism, right? Now, most retinol released in this process is quickly converted to transretinol and then cisretinol to begin another cycle. Okay. This is actually very normal. If the light goes suddenly off, we just take few seconds to adapt ourselves to the dark and we'll be able to see in dim light. Okay. But the problem happens in case of vitamin A deficiency. When vitamin A is deficient, this night vision is problematic. Then 11-cis retinol is absent and rhodopsin cannot be ready to perform a cycle of night vision. That is the mechanism of night blindness. So the dark adaptation time, what I just told now, is nothing but dark adaptation time, because bright light depletes rhodopsin. It is known as photo bleaching. All about the thing I told you, that if you give sudden exposure to light and then you make it pitch black, we will not be able to see. So sudden shift from bright light to darkness causes difficulty in seeing. Okay. So rhodopsin is synthesized in few minutes and the vision is improved in the dark. But in order to synthesize rhodopsin, we need available vitamin A. So this will not happen in vitamin A deficiency. So there will be no problem in seeing light, but there will be problem in seeing in the dark, because there are other mechanisms of light vision. Vitamin A and rhodopsin is important in case of dark vision. Mind it, we are all focused about dark vision. You know, iodopsin is another pigment that is helping in light vision, but that is not included in the syllabus and you don't need to know. So the time required to synthesize rhodopsin in the dark is known as dark adaptation time, and it is increased in vitamin A deficiency. I hope this is clear by now. So what happens? So what is the exact mechanism? When exposed to light, the color of rhodopsin changes from red to yellow, and this occurs in few milliseconds, because immediately from light to dark we are able to see. Sorry, immediately from dark to light we are able to see, but immediately from light to dark we are not able to see, because bleaching occurs in milliseconds but the reversal takes few minutes. Okay, it takes few minutes, but the bleaching is instant in few milliseconds. So unstable intermediates are formed and you don't need to know the names, just know the phenomena of photo bleaching, and it takes millisecond and the final bleached color is yellow. It's very important. Okay. Now there is a role of guanosine monophosphate. You know these nucleotides ATP, ADP, GMP, CGMP, AMP. So CGMP has got a very important role in visual cascade. So how does it act? Since light strikes in the retina, alright, there are few biochemical changes that I already told you, and that leads to the membrane hyperpolarization and generate nerve impulse. Right, by now you already know what is hyperpolarization, what is depolarization, what is resting membrane potential from your physiology. So this nothing but the same phenomena that is happening in nerve conduction. So this hyperpolarization of the membrane is brought about by a visual cascade involving CGMP. Okay, so this CGMP plays a role in membrane hyperpolarization and it helps in generation of optic nerve signal. Believe me, you do not need to know the role of CGMP or how this acts, but one thing you need to know, that is phosphodiesterase. This is very important. This enzyme also plays a role in color vision, and this is the reason why phosphodiesterase inhibitors also leads to problem in color vision. It leads to blue-green color blindness. Okay, but let's see that later. So decrease in CGMP closes the sodium channels of the rod cells that result in hyperpolarization, and the signal is transmitted to the neural network and ultimately to the visual cortex of the brain. Just remember, CGMP will close sodium channel, decrease in CGMP, and that will lead to membrane hyperpolarization and the signal. Now what I was talking about is this phosphodiesterase enzyme. So one important phosphodiesterase enzyme inhibitor is sildenafil, Sildenafil. Sildenafil is a component of a medicine that is Viagra. Okay, so one who is consuming Viagra for its medical action will have phosphodiesterase enzyme inhibited. So phosphodiesterase will remain in an inactive form, and then this visual cascade will be hampered. So both dark vision and especially color vision will be affected in case of sildenafil overdose. So this has got applied importance in pharmacology. And now one last slide about color vision. So color visions are specialized in by the cone cells. Okay, so iodopsin actually takes into account the RGB pigments, okay, red, green, blue, and these pigments are complexes of proteins and vitamin A. Remember, color vision is much less important. Vitamin A plays less important role in color vision, and color vision is not hampered in case of vitamin A deficiency because there are other factors that you don't need to know. So what happens? Bright light strikes the retina. Depending on the particular color of light, one or more pigments are bleached, and then this impulse passes to the eye, and then the color vision signal is generated. But for your purpose, remember Wald's visual cycle, and that is the most important for light vision. So to be continued. Thanks guys. I know it was already too much. Please go through the chapter and please go through the diagram that I told you, and feel free to get back to me in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Remember, the most important thing that you need to remember is Wald's visual cycle. So code of the day is Wald, W-A-L-D. If you are watching this video, please type Wald in the comment section. Till then, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, bye and take care.